welcome. We can go ahead and get started. Welcome to our Career in Peacebuilding Talk Story series. My name is Stephanie Song, the Peace Corps recruiter at UH Manoa. I served in Madagascar from 2016 to 2018. Our talk story today will focus on building up peace builders, scholarships, fellowships, and service opportunities with Rotary and the Peace Corps. Thank you so much for joining us today to learn about the journey into the profession. Today's event will be live streamed on our community Facebook pages through the 100th Infantry Battalion Veterans Education Center, aka Club 100, the Conflict Resolution Alliance, KTUH Honolulu, Returned Peace Corps Volunteers of Hawaii, University of Hawaii, Office of Civic and Community Engagement, and the Spark and Matsunaga Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution. This event is co-sponsored by the Matsunaga Institute for Peace, the Peace Corps Rotaract Club at UHM, and the Office of Civic and Community Engagement. Since 2018, the Matsunaga Institute has partnered with Peace Corps to bring Peace Corps prep programs to the University of Hawaii at Manoa. And UH Manoa strongly supports the Peace Corps' mission that peace and cooperation among nations can be best achieved through global engagement. The Peace Corps prep combines academic coursework, hands-on experience, intercultural skills, and leadership development to enable you to be a strong applicant for the Peace Corps service area that fits your interests and skills, and as well enables you to earn a UH Manoa Peace Studies certificate. If you'd like further information about the Peace Corps Prep Certificate, please visit us at peaceinstitute.manoa.hawaii.edu, which we will be dropping in the chat. Another partnership that the Peace Corps has is with Rotary, and the partnership, formerly named Partnering for Peace, works to develop Rotary Peace Corps Alliance committees around the U.S. Indeed, individuals who are focused on peace building activities often find themselves involved in both organizations. So today's event will be a talk story with Rotarians and returned Peace Corps volunteers to learn about their work in peace building and the resources that could fund your future peace-related service projects or graduate studies. So let's learn a bit about our speakers today. First, we have Kimberly Matutina, who's president of the Rotaract Club at UH Manoa and a member of Rotary Club of Honolulu Sunset. She's excited to connect to a community of like-minded individuals who have a passion for service and creating long-lasting change in the world through Rotary and Peace Corps. Then we have Yiyu Lai, moderator for the panel. And Yiyu is a Rotaract Vice President and Anthropology PhD student at UH Manoa. He is also a Rotary Global Grant Scholar from 2019 to 2020, focusing on issues of political violence and indigenous politics. He has participated in countless academic, voluntary, and cultural exchange projects in Taiwan, Hawaii, and the Philippines. Our panel will also consist of Alan Kusunoki, who is a returned Peace Corps volunteer that served as an engineer in Afghanistan from 1970 to 1972. Alan has also been an active member of the Rotary Club of Hilo since 1993. The panel will also consist of Naomi Matsuno, who is the Rotary D5000 District Governor, and she has been an active member of Rotary Club of West Honolulu since 2002. She served as East Honolulu Club President from 2006 to 2007, District Awards Chair from 2008 to 2014, District Secretary from 2014 to 2015, and District Treasurer from 2016 to 2018, as well as serving on numerous district committees. Finally, our panel will be joined by Ernesto Arizala, who is originally from Manila, Philippines, and grew up in Waipahu, Hawaii. He was instrumental in rebuilding the Hawaii Pacific University Rotaract Club, taking up the presidency in his first year in securing relations with organizations here and abroad. He strives to help build the leaders of tomorrow with his experience and knowledge. He currently works with all the Rotaractors in the Rotary District 5000 and is in his junior year of electrical engineering at Hawaii Pacific University. To get us started, I'll be giving a very short overview of the Peace Corps for our peace-minded students and audience members. So the Peace Corps is a 27-month service opportunity for qualified individuals serious about the mission of peace. And it's pretty unique among service organizations because volunteers live and work at the grassroots level. They live side by community members and immerse themselves in the language and culture of their work sites. Peace Corps volunteers work alongside local counterparts on projects in their host communities, and they defer to the expertise and cultural norms of their communities while supporting leaders and change makers. And after 27 months in their host countries, Peace Corps volunteers return home, hopefully as global citizens with new perspectives, and they return with new cross-cultural leadership, language, teaching, and community development skills that gives them a competitive edge for advanced education and job opportunities in today's global economy. Volunteers remain in the Return Peace Corps Volunteer Network for a lifetime, as we'll hear a bit about today, and find that service is the first step often towards a career in a field they would have never discovered had it not been for the Peace Corps, fields such as peace building. And if you'd like to learn more about joining the Peace Corps, please feel free to email us at peacecorps@hawaii.edu, which I will drop in the chat as well. So that's enough from my end. Thank you for listening. And I will turn it over to our Rotaract Club President, Kimberly Matutina.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for the introduction, and welcome, everyone. We're so excited to have you all here. As Stephanie mentioned, I am the president of the Rotaract Club at Manoa. The purpose of Rotaract is to provide an opportunity for young men and women to enhance the knowledge and skills that will assist them in personal development, to address the physical and social needs of their communities, and to promote better relations between all people worldwide through a framework of friendship and service. So if you guys are interested, Rotaract Club at does provide social and professional development events as well as volunteer opportunities. And for our current Rotaract members, I would just like to let you guys know that we do have our final event for this semester, which will be next week, Monday. That'll be our last general meeting, as well as our end of semester event for the awards for our active members, as well as we're going to be playing some games so you guys can win some gift cards. And also, we are still looking for new board members for next school year, and we highly encourage you guys to join. No experience is needed for that, and it's a really great opportunity for you guys to learn how to run a club and also broaden your network. So thank you, guys.
Okay, so now we're going to let our guest speaker trying to share their own stories. I'm the moderator today. I'm Yu Lai. I'm the vice president of the Rotaract Club at Manoa. So today we will have like three speakers, and since Naomi will be late, and I will introduce like Alan and Ernesto. And first of all, I want you to like share your stories, like as a peace builders, what led you to join the organizations, and what do the organizations offer to young people today, especially like today we have like lots of participants, that young participants, they all want to know like how do you like choose the career for like peace building. Maybe Alan can share your story first. Alan has so many experience.
Thank you, Yu. As Yu said, my name is Alan Kusunoki, and I have been a member of the Rotary Club of Hilo since 1993. So that's 28 years, quite some time. I also, as a volunteer, did my service in Afghanistan. And so I'll tell you a little bit about myself here to help you to understand what led me to do what I have been doing. Of course, now I'm a retired engineer, so I don't do as much in terms of the profession I was in, but it's still there. I do get asked to be a consultant from time to time. So I was born and raised here in Hawaii, and actually originally started growing up in Waipahu, part of the plantation world, sugar plantation. And then our family moved to Honolulu, and that was about the time when I started going to primary school. And when I was in primary school, I started getting involved with Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts. And one of the things that struck me, of course, everyone knows the so-called motto of Boy Scouts is be prepared. But what a lot of people don't know is that the slogan is do a good turn daily. And that really struck me as something very important that I wanted to make sure I actually tried that. And I made every effort while growing up to do that. You know, it might be a simple thing of helping someone carry a package or something. So anyway, that was my first memory of things of thinking that doing something for someone else is a good thing. And so later on, you know, I had to go to high school, went to Iolani, and there, you know, participated in a lot of the school activities, always getting involved in something where we were helping other people. And that's the best I can, best way for me to explain just exactly how I grew up. And then I was fortunate enough to go to Columbia in New York City, and eventually graduated with a degree in civil engineering, but with a specialty in structural engineering. Now, mind you, when I graduated in 70, that was pretty much the height of the Vietnam War. And so I thought, okay, I'm afraid of dying, but at the same time, I felt like I had to do my service. Unfortunately, I was not accepted. Did you know that being allergic to grass and weeds makes you ineligible, medically ineligible to join the military? So, hey, I wanted to do something, and it just happened that the Peace Corps recruiting desk showed up soon after graduation, and I said, I just went up and I said, let me find out what more about this. And of course, I grew up with John F. Kennedy. I remember I was in class when he was assassinated, and I always liked the concept of the Peace Corps. So just asked them about it. First thing they said was, you're an engineer? We want engineers. I said, oh, that's good. I'm an engineer. Maybe. And sure enough, a month later, I was headed out to Kabul, Afghanistan. The reason being, that was when Peace Corps first started to do training of its volunteers in the country. Prior to that, there were many training centers throughout the US, and but ours, they sent us over there, so we got started right away in the midst of all these languages. Now, mind you, I grew up speaking Japanese with my parents and my grandparents, but of course I spoke English too. Iolani, I learned Latin and French. I tell you about languages because I feel that languages are a very important part of peace building. And so then I end up in Afghanistan, and I'm now immersed in this intensive, and I mean intensive, language training. I know that there are a couple other Peace Corps volunteers in this meeting today, so you know what it's like. It is intense. I mean, the first day you walk in, within an hour they send you out and they ask you to go buy, a pound of apples and bring it back to the class and make sure you actually bring back that. So anyway, language has always been an important part of my life. When I finished the program, got the language and the culture, I had to go to where I was supposed to work. And it was called the Central Authority for Housing and Town Planning for the Royal Government of Afghanistan. Yeah, the country was a kingdom at the time that I served there. And the first thing that they said to me was, "You're an engineer. Okay, you'll be doing water supply engineering." I said, "Excuse me, water supply engineer? I know nothing about that." And so I said, "Well, that's the only job we have for you." Typical Peace Corps doesn't want to lose its volunteers that it's trained for the past 3 months. So I was told, find yourself another job, or you'll have to go back home, or you will have to just find another country. I said, "Oh my goodness, I have to go through another language training. This is not right." So I had to find something. So I met people within the building, the Central Authority. I met a very good engineer from India who said to me that he needed help. He needed to have an assistant and someone who knew engineering, but most importantly, someone who spoke English well, who could write. Because the job was, he was sent by the UN to write the first building code for Afghanistan. All right. I'm in engineering. I understand buildings because my specialty was structural engineering. And so I said, okay, I can handle that. And besides, I considered myself a pretty good writer. In no time at all, I'm working with him, but I'm not just working with him. I basically am taking his work, which is sort of in this unusual Indian English, and I had to convert it into something that was American English or British English. I mean, at least something that was correct English. I also type, so I ended up typing all of the manuscript, every bit of it. But now the key thing was, all right, you're a Peace Corps volunteer. What are you doing to further the first goal of Peace Corps? The first goal of Peace Corps is that you take the country that you are in. Your job is to make sure that you help in the training of the young men and women there. So you have to do something where you are bettering the country. That's why the country asked us there. By the way, if you don't know, Peace Corps always asks the country, what do you want? And the country has to come back and say, we want you to send Peace Corps volunteers to our country. And then, of course, the main thing is you have to help them train the men and women there. So the only way I could justify my position now was that I had to recruit young Afghans to help me. That wasn't too bad because the authority had a number of young people working there, but they weren't really, well, they were young and they were considered to be basically servants around. I mean, just basically ask them to do anything and everything, like lifting things, moving things from one place to another, not actual working for the authority. I mean, after all, it's housing and town planning. So because I was quite fluent in the language by the time I had finished my 3 months of training, I was able to find some of the younger people, talk to them, find out about their backgrounds, and convince them that they should help me. And in return, I would teach them about engineering. It worked out really well because when you think about it, we were doing a building code. We had to test building materials there. We had to know how strong were the different bricks that they used. How strong was the timber that they were using? No one had ever tested it there. So someone had to, and the building code would give us guidelines for them. Well, I certainly didn't know how to go out to construction sites to try to figure out how to ask them if I could have a few bricks. Could I have some of their cement, their concrete, making stuff like gravel and sand? But with these young Afghans who were working there, they could do that. And besides, they knew where construction was going on because they're native there. I mean, here I am. I'm an outsider coming in, and if I go next to a building, I don't think it would have been very successful in me obtaining some of those building materials. So it worked out really well. They went there, they spoke with the workers there, explained what we were doing, and of course, explaining that they were with the government and they were trying to do this building code. We're going to need samples and all. So that's how I got them involved. And then as we started doing the testing, they learned various parts of the testing process. I had access to the university, so I had access to the equipment. And this, for them, for these young students, well, staff there at the authority, they got to see some instruments, some testing equipment that they never would have had the opportunity to see. So anyway, that became our work. We worked for 2 years. And when we finally got to the point where we had all of the manuscripts done, then came the problem of trying to publish it. How do we actually get this printed? How do we get it bound? I didn't know, but a couple of the students I was working with said, oh, yeah, we have people in the bazaar where you can just go to them. You can explain to them what you want. So got it all printed, all collated, and we thought we'd start off with 50. So we started off with 50, take it down to the bazaar and explain what we wanted. Sure enough, these students were correct. They took me to these vendors who literally sewed the binding of the books one by one by hand. Whatever works, right? Because you want an actual published copy of the building code. So that became my work. And when I left with a few copies of it, left it behind there with the Indian engineer. But you have to imagine, we were considered a rather odd group. You had this older, experienced Indian engineer who some people found difficult to understand. I didn't. And then you have these young Afghan men. Oh, by the way, I must say, you have to understand, Afghanistan women are not allowed in such government authorities. They might be asked to make tea, but they weren't allowed to actually work there. And then this
Sorry,
Japanese
Al,
American
sorry.
kid from Hawaii, who we were a very odd looking group. And besides that, I certainly didn't look like a typical American. They knew I was American after they got to meet me and all, but no, I didn't look like the typical Afghans. By the way, I should mention that while I was busy doing this whole building code, I was seeing a young Afghan girl on the side. She happened to be the secretary to the Peace Corps director. And, you know, being fluent by now in the Afghan language, plus she spoke English pretty well. You know, we saw each other, totally forbidden by Peace Corps, totally forbidden culturally in Afghanistan, but hey, you know, it happens. What can I say? Today,
Sorry, Alan. I was
we're 49
Alan,
years
if you
later.
wouldn't mind, just because we're a little short on time, I was wondering if we could turn it over soon to Ernesto and then
Okay.
talk more about the Rotary Peace Fellowship.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
sorry about that.
he's going to talk about Rotaract, and I'll come back and talk about
the Peace Fellowship.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, so yeah, for Ernesto, yeah, as a youth representative in this event, I really want to know like how you want to like engage with the Rotaract and how you think of your like career path for the Peacebuilder. Yeah.
So just to clarify the question, you want to know how Rotaract in general as a community in District 5000 can interact and work with the Peacebuilding or Peacebuilders of your school. Is that correct?
Yeah, and also you can share your story, like why you have the chance to really engage all of these things.
Certainly. I guess with the short 5 minutes I was slated, I'm just going to talk about the reason why I really joined Rotaract is basically because how Rotary helped me out when I was in high school, and not only myself, but my entire organization of the Junior Reserve Officers Training Corps in Waipahu High School. Being in that organization, we didn't have any funds or resources, so I reached out to many organizations, only one called back, and that was Rotary Club of Honolulu Sunset. So I was very, very grateful for them and their support in giving us the funds and equipment that we needed to not only win a few matches, but also then represent our entire island in a national drill competition in Kentucky. So in general, that's why I got inspired to join Rotaract and HPU. And lo and behold, I realized that there was no Rotaract HPU, and we had to start from the bottom up. And now I realize after, especially during the pandemic and after a lot of the different UH and other, UH community, not only Manoa, but Maui College, Hilo have kind of dwindled over the past few years or past few months or so, not only due to the pandemic, but also from graduating out. I felt like there needed to be a district Rotaract committee representative or a district Rotaract representative for the island of Hawaii. So I was given the opportunity, I stepped up, and here I am today speaking to everyone here. And really, my portion of this meeting is kind of discuss the benefits of anyone who is on the fence of joining Rotaract or being a part of Rotaract or moving into a community-based club after they graduate. So for example, I'm still an active student. And when I graduate, I am very much looking forward to joining a Rotaract community-based organization. Luckily, the organization that I'm running right now is community-based, so I don't have to worry about that so far. But the organization that is based out of UH Manoa is a university-based organization and one of the top organizations that we have here in our district. So thank you so much for all of our Rotaractors here in attendance. It is great to see you all. I do apologize for not being able to meet you in any of your general meetings recently, but it's good to hear that everyone is doing well, and it's good to see all the different Rotaract faces here in attendance. And basically, a lot of the benefits that you already have realized so far being a Rotaract member is, of course, your networking opportunities being a Rotaractor. Here we are sitting in a meeting, basically, and we're getting to hear a lot of wonderful stories from our different presenters. And we're also surrounded by a lot of people, may it be virtually, of those who have many different experiences and many different backgrounds. And you don't really get that much of an opportunity if you're not part of an organization such as ours or any other professional organization. But a caveat to our organization is not only that we're here for networking, but we're also here for service. This year's theme for the Rotary International for the year 2021 to 2022 is serve to change lives. And I'm certain if you're sitting here in a peace building meeting, you want to change lives in general, right? So if you're here for peace building and if you're here to serve to change lives, I think it's really good for you to consider being a part of Rotaract as well. Here in District 5000, we have a lot of support from our Rotary clubs in sponsorship from our Rotaract clubs in general. But our Rotaract community is also very supportive of one another. And we are now founded a Rotaract Council, which your president and some of your other representatives are a part of. So I just want to say, if you're interested in serving to change lives or being a Peace Corps volunteer, you're in the correct meeting. And if you're interested in joining Rotaract, may it be in a community-based club organization or university-based club organization if you're in UH Manoa, please consider it, because I'm certain you're on the next step if you're already sitting in a meeting just like this. So thank you so much for letting me be here. And thank you so much, Alan, for your wonderful presentation. I'd love to hear more on the Rotary Peace Fellowships.
Yeah. So
any questions for me? I think I have like.
So we will have a Q&A session in the end. But yeah, since Alan is in the scholarship committee in the Rotary Foundation now, maybe we can ask Alan to share some of your experience or like some of the resources that we can get from the Rotary Foundations.
Okay, I'll be sharing my screen shortly. Basically, I chair the committee that reviews the applications that come in from students like yourself, in fact, who are interested in being a part of the Rotary Peace Fellowship Program. In fact, we have in our audience here one of the applicants, and I've been reading very carefully her essays because I can assure you the application is not a simple process, but you get an opportunity to tell about yourself and try to impress the committee that are back in Chicago reviewing your application there. So let me start to share and start to explain how the program works. Okay. So it's really, the official name is Rotary Peace Centers Fellowship. And let me go through this. Oh, it's not advancing. Let's do an advance this way. All right. So first of all, there are 8 universities throughout the world that participate in this fellowship program. And I'll tell you where they are, what their names are in a later slide here. Since it started back in 2002, the Peace Fellowship Program has, you can see it right here, in 115 countries all over the world and 1,400 roughly program alumni. So where are these peace centers? Well, 2 of them are in the US. And so you can see there in the gold, these are all the master's degrees programs. So Duke and the University of North Carolina do a joint program in the US. In the United Kingdom, University of Bradford. In Sweden, Uppsala University. In Australia, the University of Queensland. And in Japan, the International Christian University. So let me say again, these are where the master's program are run. For the professional development certificate, you have Chulalongkorn University in Thailand and the Makerere University in Uganda. Now, as you can see here, 2 different programs, 50 fellows will be with the master's program and 80 will be in the certificate program. So you have 5 universities, 10 going to each of the centers for the master's program that goes up to 2 years of study. For the certificate program, you have 20 per cohort, and there are 4, and the cohorts are 2 at each of the universities at Makerere and Chulalongkorn. So what's the master's program like? Well, obviously there's academic training, so that's when you have a lot of intense reading. And I mean a lot of reading. I've read through the syllabus. The curriculum is just very, very intense. But they also have some field experience in there. And the best part of it all is the networking, because you'll be working with the other students in your class, as well as before you go over, you will be associating yourself with a Rotary Club here. And what's great is when in the country that you are actually studying at, there are Rotarians there who will be a part of your life there, your educational academic life. The workshop series is more very, very practical training where you'll be standing up in front of other students, in front of Rotarians who will listen to you teach us, because part of the program is teaching until you finally have the final presentation of your research. So what does it take to become a candidate? Obviously, you have to speak English, have a bachelor's degree, and notice, strong improvement commitment to cross-cultural understanding and peace. On the cross-cultural part, I started talking about that earlier. Language is an important part of cross-cultural work. Without the language, you can't understand the culture. Without the culture, you really don't appreciate the language. That's where it's very, very important to have a cross-cultural understanding of it. And of course, if peace is what you want to pursue, that's what the fellowship is all about. Leadership is important, and you have to have a minimum of 3 years of full-time experience. Now, obviously, if you happen to be a former Peace Corps volunteer, you've got at least 27 months there, and you just need another 9 working out in the real world. Certificate program, slightly different, only a year roughly. So you start off when you go to the university there, there's a period when you get to meet the cohort that's before you, and you get to hear what they present. Then your actual work starts off, and you take all these online courses. And then later on for 10 weeks, which is typical of a semester in the university, you have on-site course work and a few field studies. And then for 9 months, you will actually take what you choose to study. What is your specialty? What are you doing for the certificate program to demonstrate that you are a good candidate for peace and conflict resolution? Then at the end, of course, you get to talk to the next cohort group too. What do the certificate candidates need? Obviously, English, bachelor's degree, and again, cross-cultural understanding and peace, leadership skills. Now notice, 5 years minimum for the certificate program. These certificate programs are made for individuals who have been working for some time. You have some real life work experience out there, and you're going back for additional education. One thing I might note down there about MACREER is that you either have to be from Africa, work in Africa, or work with African communities outside of the African continent. What does it cost? Well, luckily, you don't have to pay anything. The Master's Fellowship program for 2 years is about $75,000. It covers everything for you. Insurance, the conference, research expenses, internship expenses, all of your tuition, room, board, travel to and from the country. Completely covered for you. Certificate fellowship, similar. Tuition is covered. The one thing that's really nice is it's an on-campus accommodation. You actually live there. I've been to the Chulalongkorn University, and it is a very nice campus, and you won't mind living on campus there. Again, they'll fly you there and back. All of your expenses, books, etc., are all covered, and of course, insurance. That's important because we do get sick. Medical insurance is there. We might have accidents. Accident insurance is all included in the program. So what happens when you finish the program, whether it's the master's program or the professional development certificate? Well, you can see from this pie chart here, more than half, 51% end up working for the government or in non-governmental organizations, which we all know as NGOs. 24% are in the educational area, either teaching, doing research, or actually going for another advanced degree. 6% work for the UN. Another 6% are involved with law enforcement, the police, and then the remaining 13%, a mixture of journalism, the World Bank, and other fields. So how do you apply? Well, for this year, the deadline for submitting the application is the 15th of May. So if you haven't started yet, it's a scramble to try to get it done. But the applications become available in February. If you're really interested in it, you can start thinking about it and research about it on the Rotary.org website, because everything is there on the website. It's very important for you to know where you are going. In fact, for the master's program, you have to declare which 2 universities you would consider. And you can't just say you're going there because you think, I don't know, going to Japan, it would be nice. You have to explain in your essays why that university. You have to learn about the curriculum and understand who the faculty are there. And if you know someone there, you learn about someone at the university you particularly like, and you can perhaps state that in your application. Both of our applicants this year did just that. They studied it enough, they knew the faculty, they said, I want to study with so-and-so. You have to be connected to a Rotary Club, so that's easy. If you're in Rotaract, you have access to that information. You go to rotary.org, you can go to the Rotary District 5000 website and find a club. Again, the deadline is the 15th of May. And then what happens is the Chicago office will let me know who actually sent in their applications on time and are now eligible to be considered. And then we review the application once more and submit that to, but we take it back to them and say, okay, this is what we see. And finally, we actually endorse or not endorse the candidates based upon their application. Then there's a long waiting period. Oh, by the way, the endorsement has to be done by the 1st of July. Then there's a long process of waiting while you are being considered. And then in November, they announce who are those 130 Peace Fellows for Rotary. Then, once you are selected, you go through the process of applying separately to the university. If you want more information, if you need to ask questions directly, here's the email address. But as far as learning more about it, you can just go to rotary.org and just go in and say Peace Fellowship or Peace Center, and you will obtain all that information. Okay, so that covers that.
So since Naomi is already here, maybe we can also ask Naomi to share something that you can add some like how what kind of other resources can we try to find in the Rotary Foundation, since you are the governor of the District 5000. Yeah.
And I should be unmuted, right? Rotary is such an amazing organization because we have so many ways to take advantage of what we have to offer to connect with people. But for those of you who don't know about Rotary, Rotary has been around since 1905, and it was started by a group of attorneys who wanted to network. So they rotated offices, and so that's how they got the name Rotary. And so when you look at Rotary and all of the avenues of service, one is how you network with people. How Ernesto may have talked about mentorship. So we have Rotarians who can mentor in your career path. We have people who can talk about business. But the Rotary part is networking, the fellowship. Rotary is in 200 countries around the world. We do service projects around the world. I think you might have some people going with us to Nepal, right, in October from your club. So that's what we do. We see needs, we go out and we can help. So 53 clubs in Hawaii, 7 Rotaract clubs, 30 Interact clubs. So Interact clubs are for age 12 to 18. They're in the high school. So just think of you, college students mentoring high school students. There are 20,000 Interact clubs in 159 countries around the world. Rotaract, we have university community-based Rotaracts, and there's no upper age, but there's 10,000 Rotaract clubs in 184 countries. So this is another way you can network with other clubs in other countries. So you say you're studying something and you want to get information from another country, you know, we have that network that you can tap into. But for Rotary International, we have 7 areas of focus: promoting peace, fighting disease, clean water, sanitation, hygiene, saving mothers and children, education, growing economies. So growing economies is business, protecting the environment. But, you know, as a humanitarian organization, peace is the cornerstone of our mission. And so we believe that when we work to create peace in our communities, that change can happen. So here you're at a crossroads, you have your future in front of you. So to shape your future, network with the other Rotaractors, the Rotary clubs, find people who can help you with information, with career development, and even fellowship, you know, just friendship. So we carry out these service projects. We support these fellowships and scholarships so that we can build people who are interested in making peace, helping us with conflict resolution. And even when you think about poverty, discrimination, ethnic tension, lack of education, if we can fix these problems, we can have peace in the world. So our commitment to peace building today is really challenging because we need to make an impact. We need to find out how we can make a change. And so we need to really work together and get people who are really committed to this. And there are 4 ways that we can do this. 4 ways we can promote peace. So one is practitioners, people who can really fight disease, who can provide clean water, do projects in these other countries. Educators, like the peace centers, to educate people. Right here, we're educating you on what's available. Mediators, we have mediators who go and they negotiate with the governments and the militants so that we can allow polio vaccinators to go to Afghanistan and Pakistan. And we want to promote peace and conflict resolution. So, you know, our partnership with Peace Corps, which started in 2014, is a good way to have more hands to have impact. So with that memorandum of understanding with Peace Corps, we have volunteers, we can do projects together. They're on the ground, knowing what the needs are. Rotary can provide funding, provide volunteers, and can help with some of these issues. The United Nations, we are a partnership with the United Nations. Our 75-year partnership is education, and they have their goals as well. So, you know, the more hands you got, the bigger impact you can have. And so together we can make changes in the world. So as you map out your future, consider joining Rotary or community-based Rotaract, or just volunteering to make meaningful changes in the world. You will be rewarded in so many ways when you give back to the community. Thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, thanks for all of your sharing. And now, because we're time almost ran out, so maybe Stephanie, you can like start. If anyone want to like have any questions for all the speakers today, you can yeah, you can just share to us.
Yeah, I do have a question in mind, but I'm gonna be quiet and give others a chance. So if you have a question for any of our speakers today, feel free to drop in the chat or unmute yourself. or drop it in the chat, actually. Sorry, I don't think you're able to unmute, but we will share your question. Okay, thanks for the question, Mark. I do have one for our speakers, but I can talk a bit about the fellowship I got from the East-West Center. So after my service in Madagascar, I was interested in studying anthropology, or the study of culture, more, and looking for a way to fund it. And while it wasn't a formal relationship with the Peace Corps, I think something that Peace Corps service does is make you pretty competitive as an applicant for many different types of scholarships, even as Mark was saying, the Global Peace Fellowship, because of your cross-cultural understanding, maybe the 2 years of service and international experience overseas in the sector that you really care about or want to study. And so I applied for the graduate degree fellowship at the East-West Center. And I think due to my Peace Corps experience, they have people in the education programs that are returned Peace Corps volunteers, and a few Rotarians, I believe, in the organization that understand sort of the gravity of these two organizations and their commitment to service. And so, yeah, don't worry if there's no formal partnership, because I think, as Ernesto pointed out, the networking is quite insane. You'll find returned Peace Corps volunteers everywhere. You find Rotarians everywhere. That's how I met Alan. That's how I met EU. Like, it's just, that's how I'm meeting you all today. So yeah, thank you for that question. And I was actually wondering, I had a question for EU. Actually, if you could talk a bit about, I know there's graduate students in the audience, if you could talk a bit about how your research was able to be funded by Rotary.
So 2 years ago, I actually got applied for the global grant from Rotary Foundation, and that is like that is the project that if you want to do anything about like community building, I think they mentioned it in someone mentioned it in the chat. Yeah, so Mark shared it, like if your work is relevant to like the Rotary 7 area of focus, then like you can apply for the project and they can give you like from 1 year to 4 years scholarship for it. So sometimes it's not just about scholarship. If you are not going to graduate school, if you just want to like have a like project for any communities, it's also workable. You can like trying to collaborate with any other like Rotary club, then can like try to initiate any kind of project that you want. Then like you can also get the resources from it. Yeah. So yeah, I noticed that there's another question in the chat box. They say like, is there anything available for undergrad students? Since we talk like resources for graduate students. Maybe Alan or Naomi, you want to share something?
Well, we have the Interact and interactors that Rotaractors can work with. But for undergraduates, we can do what we've done with your Rotaract Club with mentoring, with career development. We have projects if you need service learning hours. We have a lot of projects you can jump in. We just planted 7,000 trees on the North Shore. And Ernesto's group came with us, but we've got lots of projects that you might want to work on. And it could be volunteering at the vaccination center that maybe that could help if you're in School of Nursing. But if we can help find internships during the summer in your career path, that is something maybe we can help you with.
I might also add that we talk about networking, and I think that's something you should really appreciate, that you have opportunity. There are so many Rotarians here in Hawaii. We have 53 clubs throughout the state, and if you get to know a Rotarian, that really helps, because when you're interested in doing something, even at the undergraduate level, although graduate level is a bit easier for us, but even at the undergraduate level, as long as you think about those 7 areas of focus that Rotary is involved in, if your interest is right within those 7 areas of focus, it's a lot easier for you then to get to know a Rotary Club and get to know the Rotarians within it, and then start to talk about the idea that perhaps they could help you with your pursuit. It's an important part of how our scholarship program works. It's not always easy for us to figure out what students want to do. You need to tell us, what do you want to do? And are you interested in peace? Well, maybe there are ways in which we can help. The Peace Fellowship program is very structured, very, very well put together, but that doesn't prevent you from trying to get another scholarship through a Rotary Club.
I know we're 4 minutes over, but can I add on to the question that was presented by Sarah? Thank you. So the question was, is there anything available for undergraduates? And Naomi mentioned either joining Rotaract or being a part of any of the organizations that we have. Alan mentioned focusing on networking and learning more about why it's important to network. And he also basically something that I wanted to reiterate here is, if you're not sure what you're doing, being a part of an organization like ours, like Rotaract, is actually really good, because our organization is not comprised of only one department, right? We have engineers in my club, we have nurses, we have basically every department that we have within our university is a part of our club. And I feel it's the same way for University of Hawaii Manoa as well. So if you want to be a part of an organization, and if you are an undergraduate, being a part of like an organization like Rotaract can really help you with preparing for your internships in the future. We have programs like mentorship that I was mentioned earlier that would help you kind of jumpstart what you want to know about the field that you're trying to get into. And also we have other students who are undergraduates or who are currently undergraduates who you can, work with, speak to, and kind of learn, so you don't feel alone in your college journey, right? And I feel like that's really something that would be very helpful for not only college students, and I'm certain the reason why Rotarians join is for the camaraderie as well. So if you join Rotaract, it's also for the camaraderie, because we're just a support network that would be very helpful, I feel, if you do join Rotaract. So if you are undergraduate, there's a lot of options for you. Peace Corps, Rotaract, the other clubs that you have in your school, but the program I feel that could really help you out as well is one like ours, either at UH Manoa or my club, for example. I hope that answers your question, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ernesto, for that. And thank you, Kimberly, you, Alan, Naomi, and Jose for collaborating on this event, for allowing us to learn about your work in peace building, and all of the resources and advice that could fund future peace-related projects or graduate studies. And truly appreciate you opening up about your experiences and the lessons learned, and the tips that have come out of today's dialogue network, tips that I know will be very useful to future peace builders. Thank you for also just your kindness and leadership in the field as we explore our journey into the profession of peace building, and Last but not least, thank you for all who have joined today's event. We deeply appreciate your interest and support in joining us to learn about exploring the journey into the profession through our Career in Peace Building Talk Story series.